Cardinal Bertone, he was Archbishop then, Archbishop Bertone, under Sodano, goes over to Coimbra, Carmel in Coimbra, where Sister Lucia is, to interview her, and has a long interview with her. More likely than not, it seems that what they were trying to do is they had to let her know, look, this is what we're going to release as a third secret, and this is our interpretation. Like, are you going to play ball? What they can't do, because it'll put egg on their narrative, egg on their face, is to put out this secret, put out this narrative, and then have Sister Lucia say, no, that's all false. And so who knows what shenanigans and what arm twisting and religious obedience was uttered in that 2-hour-long interview. But they went to sort of check it out, and they would not release the third secret, even though John Paul II wanted to, without that interview. We don't know what took place there. We don't know what was said. They did come back, and they decided to release the portion they released, which we know is not the real third secret, and they gave it an interpretation. But before they did it, they went and they had this interview, of which, interestingly enough, imagine this, you are interviewing.
Have you joined the 100 by 100 challenge? We're on the verge of 100 years of disobedience, and the church and world are falling into a crisis. As a result, we're calling all Catholics to help us complete a spiritual bouquet of 100,000 First Saturdays by the 100th anniversary of Our Lady of Fatima's request, December 10th, 2025. Please ask all of your friends, family, and parish to sign up, and don't forget to update your status every month at fatima.org/100 by 100. Let us do our part in Our Lady of Fatima's message.
I tell myself I say clearly, that was the real Sister Lucia. Why else would they have gone and interviewed her? And if they had an impostor Sister Lucia, well, they could have had her say whatever they wanted. They had control of her. She could have come out and said, oh, yes, this is the full. I mean, they could have really played it up. But I think the things that happened to them in 1989 and how all those things started backfiring with the Carlos Severus interviews, or the four judges had taught them, you better be a little more cautious. People are going to figure out what you're doing. So this time they just have the interview and there's no record. And then they published a third secret. And then, of course, Father Gruner and others leading the charge. As soon as that thing came out, everybody knew, okay, this is a farce. The words of Our Lady, where are they? And so the Vatican starts taking a lot of heat for the next year. Constantly, like, this is not the secret. Everyone's poking all the holes in the false narrative that they try to put out in June of 2000. And so then again, and Christopher Farrar does a nice job in this book documenting again, Bertone goes over and has another interview with Sister Lucia. This one in November of 2001. And it's to, we got collateral damage. We got to figure out how to stop the bleeding here. He needed to get some kind of confirmation. He needs to get something from her. How easy would it have been for him to have just asked her the straight up questions. The etc. What are the words? Is Russia consecrated? How easy Sister Lucia could have said yes or no to those answers. And of course, if she had said what the Vatican wanted her to say, they would have had cameras rolling, front page news, the whole works. But instead, silence. Bertone didn't even talk about this interview for a month. It took him a month to put something on. He says he talked to her for several hours, and we have very, very few words on the whole subject. You can read it more in depth in here. Okay? But what is clear to me is that, again, in 2001, Bertone went again and interviewed the real Sister Lucia. She was alive, she was there, and she would not play ball with them. She stood fast in the truth because she received the grace from Our Lady. And so they did everything they could to squash it. They've done everything they can to misdirect. They've done everything they can to falsify, including, I believe, on certain limited occasions, a false Sister Lucia. But the real Sister Lucia is still back there, holding back the truth, and that's Our Lady's work. And that's why it doesn't change anything fundamental. So those are real important interviews that people seem to forget about and don't address. And then, again, so much evidence is lacking. I mean, people knew Lucia. Confessors, families, sisters that would go and visit her while she was in the convent. No, we have no personal testimony from any living person that Sister Lucia died or that there was an impostor that replaced her. I mean, think about it.
Was there a fake Sister Lucia? We know letters were forged in her name, but was she also impersonated by another woman? Now, Father Gruner addressed this years ago, but new evidence has surfaced. So the latest edition of the Fatima Crusader, issue 132, covers what anyone needs to know about this controversial topic. It's a must-read. Contact the Fatima Center to request a copy, and please send us your feedback. We're interested. Our Lady of Fatima, ora pro nobis.
In a court of law, that's what carries the most weight. Even our Lord talks about that. Bring one witness, bring two witnesses before you go to church. We know how important it is for someone to put their own credibility and their own reputation on the line to say, this is the truth and I witness to it. You would want some kind of evidence like that. If there really was an impostor Sister Lucia, somebody should have said something along the line. Her sister that goes and visits her? Old friends from Fatima that knew her when she was a little girl that were still visiting her? Her confessor for 30 years who's been writing letters to her throughout the 1980s? But none of them ever said anything. Are they all in on a massive conspiracy? That's very hard to believe. And someone who's rational and thinking well perceives that. And then if they hear people saying, imposter Sister Lucia died, they think, no, you're off your rocker. These are the bad conspiracy theories, that of control conspiracy theories. And then that discredits the message of Fatima and discredits us who are trying to talk about it. And then people lose focus. And they get distracted, and they fight. And hopefully in all of this, you see the work of the devil. So the devil's trying to attack Fatima from any side he can.